thought for the day. She remembered who she was, and the game changed. Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina Aina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being. In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we are reminded of the importance of talking to ourselves like we would talk to someone we love. Have a listen.
Gratitude and joy. The courage to be vulnerable enough to really feel grateful and joyful will always trump scarcity. You know, we live in a culture of scarcity. We live in a culture of never enough. You can fill in the blanks. Never good enough, skinny enough, rich enough, popular enough, never bestseller enough, never blah blah enough, never enough Twitter followers, never enough. Never enough. Never enough. And what's interesting is there's only, in the research what I found, there's only one way out of scarcity. And that is enoughness. At some point, we need to just say, enough. I'm enough. What I'm doing is enough.
I love in the TEDx talk, I think it was a TEDx talk, where you talk about the original definition of courage. Can you share that?
Yeah.
I love that.
I do too. It's from the Latin word cur, meaning heart. And so the original definition was to share all of yourself, share your whole story with your whole heart. And so an act of courage was an act of storytelling, which I think is true. The question I think that drives my work is really, what is the struggle? What is our struggle with believing that we're enough? How does that play into the bigger cultural picture? What are the messages and expectations that fuel this sense that we have to be perfect, that we're not allowed to be vulnerable? It's about waking up in the morning and saying, you know, no matter what gets done and how much is done and how it's done, I'm enough and I'm worthy of love and belonging and joy. I think wholeheartedness, the entire idea of wholeheartedness, is about engaging with the world from a place of worthiness. The most life-changing is that vulnerability is the center of difficult emotion, but it's also the birthplace of every positive emotion that we need in our lives. Love, belonging, joy, empathy. I think there's like a thin film of terror wrapped around us. And so if it's not, I'm not safe enough, or I'm not secure enough, it's I'm not liked enough, I'm not promoted enough, I'm not loved enough.
I don't have enough.
I don't have enough.
I am not enough.
At the very bottom,
Yeah.
I'm not enough.
Yeah. Whoa, that's big, 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 big. Somebody ring some bells. We need some bells to ring on this show. But that's good.
That's it. And so guess what the number one casualty is of a scarcity culture?
What?
Vulnerability.
We shut down.
We shut down.
Because I'm not going to let you know.
No, because I'm
that
already scared.
I'm not
Right.
all together.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is that people are like, oh, well, we lose a little vulnerability. But vulnerability is not just about fear and grief and disappointment. It's the birthplace of everything we're hungry for.
Creativity.
Joy, creativity, faith, love.
Innovation and all of that, yes.
And the whole thing is there is no innovation and creativity without failure. Period.
So you got to be open enough to take the risk to fail.
Yeah.
Before we get into tip number 6, I just want to mention, if you want more high vibe self-love content in your life, then be sure to check out our Instagram page and give it a follow at Mindspo. You can also connect with us right now by sharing and tagging at Mindspo in a story of you watching this video so that others can find these self-love gems as well. We've even created an artwork inspired by this video, which you can share on your gram right now. You'll find a link to it below the video.
Pandora's box is closed right now, but are you under the impression that you're living outside of the box or in the box?
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to open Pandora's box, because that's strange to me, because you're living inside Pandora's box, and what I feel like you've asked me to come here to open it up. Like, we're not going to do this process without walking through some deep shit. There's going to be deep, swift water. And if the water is super deep and swift, you need to go through that with a therapist. And
get that settled before we work in the organizational way. But what I would say to people, what I always say is the same for me, and I'm sure the same for you, that we all grew up and experienced to varying degrees trauma, disappointment, hell, hard stuff. We armored up. And at some point, that armor no longer serves us. And so what I think I would say to that person is, how is not talking about this serving you? Mm-hmm. And now the weight of the armor is too heavy and it's not protecting you. It's keeping you from being seen and known by others. Mm. And so this is, just tell you quintessentially, this is the developmental milestone of midlife. This is the question. This is when the universe comes down and puts her hands on your shoulders and pulls you close and whispers in your ear. The armor is keeping you from growing into the gifts I've given you. That is not without penalty. Time is up. So this is what you see happen to people in midlife. And it's not a crisis. It's a slow, brutal unraveling. And this is where everything that we thought protected us keeps us from being the partners, the parents, the professionals, the people that we want to be.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.